Hi, everybody. Welcome along to episode 94 of Percussion Discussion. Please check out our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, our world famous YouTube channel where you can find all of our interviews, past and present. Please click subscribe. It only takes a second, and this way it ensures that you don't miss any of the upcoming interviews or, of course, any of the fabulous ones that we've done already. If you'd rather listen on the go, then this is fine. All of our conversations are available in podcast form, and these are free to download from your favorite podcast provider. So if that's your thing, you know precisely what to do. If you can find the time to leave us a short review, then that really, really helps get the word out there. So I'd appreciate it. Thank you. On to today's guest, one of the youngest drummers that I've spoken to. I think maybe apart from Nick Collins, who is the youngest, 25 years old, and in his 25 years, he has achieved so much. I'm astounded to find out that he gave Benny Greb a drum lesson when he was only 19 years old. He already holds endorsements with Gretsch, Zildjian, and Vic Firth. He's been playing for the Nigel Price organ trio for a few years, as well as recently with the incredible Louis Dowdeswell band. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the ridiculously talented Joel Barford.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, really happy to be here. Great.
Well, I appreciate it, and it's been a little while in the making. This one, we were waiting for an announcement, weren't we? I had a sneaky, tiny little heads up that can we do it maybe in July rather than June? It's like, okay, that's fine. So, would you like to share with us the announcement that we've waited for?
Yeah, drum roll. Yeah. So,
if I knew a drummer.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So the announcement was that I'm very pleased to say that I am now a Gretsch endorsee. And it's always been a massive dream of mine, and I couldn't be happier to be playing some of the best drums in the world.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Amazing achievement, especially at such a young age as well. I mean, thankfully you have a ridiculous talent to back it up, as people are seeing all over the UK at gigs that you're performing with various bands and ensembles and what have you. But you've got some great stuff on social media as well, which is the place where everybody kind of discovers people, isn't it? Let's be honest, and that's the way it is at the moment, and probably will be forevermore now, I guess. But there we go.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think. Well, first off, thanks very much, Matt. It's really kind of you to say. But I think the whole social media thing is quite important in kind of today's world. I think I was kind of the generation of where Instagram was brand new, and I decided to get on it and just started posting back when it was 15-second clips. Either technique stuff or just quick something around the kit. Bearing in mind I was maybe 16 or something like this, 15, 16. And yeah, ever since then, the numbers started rising, got a bit of recognition, and I think people use it as a shop window almost, where they can see, oh, this guy, he does this, he plays with this person, and he's done these recordings, and then you have a message button so people get in touch. So I've had quite a lot of inquiries from Instagram over recordings and a lot of teaching. I get a lot of people asking for lessons.
That's good.
Over Instagram.
It obviously works, doesn't it? It does work. It's a simple fact. Many people will say, oh, I don't like it, it's this and it's that, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And the fact that you're getting messages for gigs, teaching, what more could you want? And it doesn't cost anything to do either, does it?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's brilliant. I know a few musicians who aren't really into it, which is fair enough, and there's people in a different generation who before social media and all this, they don't particularly need it because their name is established already. But I think the current world we're in now, with what we have with social media, I think it's almost essential if you want to achieve what you want to achieve. Either getting noticed by getting gigs or recording or getting work, or for instance, drum companies. They'll see you and will want to bring you on board and get in touch just to show that you're really busy. And I think, it's pretty cool.
Can I ask, was that obviously the big news with Gretsch? Was that how it came about, or was that part of how it came about?
No, actually, it was. It kind of came about through recommendations.
Sure.
So I got recommended by 3 people. I won't mention their names, but they were kind of very high up Gretsch artists, and they were very kind enough to send email of recommendation to the artist relations at Gretsch in the States and also the UK. And they also noticed me when I played the UK drum show this year. And so they already knew who I was in the first place, and they got on the phone instantly and rang me up, and they were really lovely people, really nice people. And it's always been a huge kind of dream to play Gretsch, because I'm not a jazz drummer. I love jazz, and I do lots of other genres as well. But I've studied a lot of jazz over the years, and all my heroes, kind of growing up, they all had a set of Gretsch drums, and they all sounded absolutely amazing. And the history is insane. You know, they've been making drums since like 18 something or other.
Yeah, well, the history is absolutely insane. And every drummer who's ever been anybody has either played Gretsch or has a Gretsch kit, or not a company maybe known for incredible snare drums, like maybe Ludwig. Everyone's got a Ludwig snare drum. But it's difficult with Ludwig. You can say, oh yeah, there's the Black Beauty, there's the 400, there's the Acrylite.
Yeah,
it's harder to do with Gretsch, but the drums are just incredible, aren't they? Let's be honest.
They sound huge. So at the moment I've got a Catalina just to last me out for another 6 months or so, because I've got I put in a special order for my own brand new USA custom. Which I'm like chomping at the bit. I can't wait for that to arrive. But even at the moment, I'm using my Catalina on gigs now, and it sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
I'm like super surprised, because I played Catalinas before, and it's pretty much what it says on the tin, you know. But like I used it on a big band gig last weekend, and it sounded absolutely amazing. It sounded huge.
Beautiful drums.
Yeah. So, but I can't, which makes me even more excited to hear what the USA custom's going to sound like. I'm not really a massive. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, it's just talking to Gretsch. I don't know if you're aware of it. I'm sure some of the viewers or listeners, whoever's, whether you're watching on YouTube or podcast, my friend Bart van der Zee has the Drum History podcast. I don't know if you're aware of it.
No.
And there was a recent episode on Gretsch with a member. I think he was one of the Gretsch's grandsons, and he was talking about the names of the drums, you know, and the Catalina has been around for years and years. They keep the names going, like the broadcaster. They don't change the names of the brands as the names of the ranges as they go along, which I really like. I just think this.
Beautiful.
You know, so anyway, Drum History podcast. Check out that episode. Check out more, because it's a great podcast. But the Gretsch one is really, really cool, really interesting.
I'll do that. I'm always on the lookout for new podcasts, so I'm definitely going to check that out.
Drum History is great. So I won't ask for any money, Bart, if you're watching this. he does a wonderful job. He really does. So he doesn't need me to tell him that. So Gretsch drums. You know, what can I say? Just congratulations, amazing.
Oh, thanks, mate. It's I still kind of pinching myself in a way.
It must be, you know, as a kid, if you'd have told yourself, you're 25 now.
Yeah, that's
still kid in my books. But hey, you know, if you'd have said to your 15-year-old self, I'm going to be endorsed by Gretsch in 10 years, what would you?
I would be in complete denial. I wouldn't believe any of it.
Yeah.
And it's not only like Gretsch, because Vic Firth and Zildjian were also on my list, and those are 2 other companies that I endorse now as well.
Amazing.
And I've always ever played Vic Firth, and I had lots of Zildjians, but I also played other kind of different types of cymbals.
Sure.
I had a couple of Istanbuls and Playsties and things, but Zildjian was kind of the dream one day. To be a Zildjian and Gretsch guy now is like, I don't know. Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. So I feel very privileged for the recognition in a way.
It's amazing.
And just given an opportunity to, when I signed to, it was in lockdown when I signed to Vic Firth and Zildjian. So I was 24 back then, and 23, 24. And even then was just bonkers. And that happened because I got recommended by Benny Greb to Vic Firth. So Benny's a really good friend of mine, almost like a brotherly figure now in a way. We've known each other for, let's say 5-6 years now.
Right.
And we became really close, and he was kind enough to recommend me to Vic. And of course, Zildjian own Vic now.
Yes, of course, same company. Well, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So that kind of happened really quickly. But the Zildjian thing didn't happen for a while because the guys at Zildjian and Vic, they said, "Oh, would you want to play Zildjian as well?" And I said no at first.
Oh.
I kind of said, actually, I think I'm good because I don't play specifically Zildjian. My sound, if you will, at that time, I had Istanbuls and things.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I loved Zildjian, I didn't have enough Zildjian to be exclusive.
Okay.
So they said, "Would you be willing to let us change your mind?" And I said, "Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah." And then that's when they put me in touch and hooked me up with a Zoom call with Paul Francis.
Oh, right, okay.
And Paul Francis had his notepad. He was like, "Okay, so what do you want?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" I told him what I like, what I don't like about cymbals, like these sizes, like this, and he was like, "Okay, I think I got it." And then we ended all, and I didn't hear anything for a few months. Next thing I know, loads of Constantinople prototypes turn up at the door.
Wow!
And they're my own kind of set of Zildjians, individual to me. And
I can't imagine.
And it's, yeah, so just something like that was another pinch me moment.
And did they get it right? Did they get the sound right for you?
Absolutely nailed it. Yeah. And yeah, I sold everything else instantly, and just the setup I'm playing now, I've got lots to choose from. I've got like Constantinople prototypes, and what he said about the hats was I like a firm chick with the hats, and I don't like an over ring. I want a firm, like if I'm playing like swing big band, I want a firm chick to it. And he absolutely nailed that, and that was really cool because he sent me two hats from two different sets. So the bottom is an A quick beat, and the top is an Avidas.
Oh, okay.
And
the quick beat's got the holes in, right?
Oh yeah, maybe you're right. No, the one I have doesn't. I would show them that they're in the
that's fine.
And it nailed the sound I was after. Yeah. And it's like he could be my mind. I could just hear it. He could hear it.
Genius.
So yeah, very, very happy with that one. So yeah, thanks to Benny for initiating.
I mean, let's be honest. When Benny Greb suggests that you might be a good endorsee, that carries some weight, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said earlier, me and Benny are really close. In fact, I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning, but back when I was 19 years old, like we said about earlier with Instagram, Benny got in touch with me on Instagram, and I was obsessed with Benny Greb. Like I had all his books, I had his DVDs. I actually used to come home from school and watch the same DVD every day, and it was The Art and Science of Groove.
Yes,
I was obsessed with that, and then all of a sudden I get a message from Benny himself. I thought it was a scam or something. I just didn't believe it. And all it said was like, "Hi Joel, what's your number and email address?" And I was like, "Okay, this is just someone pulling my leg, one of my mates pulling my leg or something." And I sent my number. The next thing I know, a German number is calling me, and I was like terrified, like shaking, like "Hello," and he was like, "Hi Joel, I'm coming to London," and he said, "First off, I really love your playing. which I said, I absolutely adore your playing.
Yeah.
You know, huge fan. He said, well, that's really kind of you, but so this might sound weird. I would really like a lesson from you.
Wow.
To which I kind of, it took me about 10 seconds to reply to that. Because I was just, you know, astounded. I thought, what could I possibly
have? What could you teach Benny Greb?
Well, exactly. So he had a couple of big band projects coming up.
Okay.
He guested with the Royal College of Music Big Band, and for their festival Percussion. It was like a Buddy Rich theme night. And also 2 weeks after that, he was playing in my hometown, Northampton,
at
the Derngate Theatre,
yes, yeah.
With the world's greatest drummer concert.
Oh, Ian Palmer's concert. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
I know Ian very well. Yes.
Yeah. So Benny was booked for that, and Benny's never played big band or jazz ever before, really.
Right.
And he kind of wanted not coaching, but just he would want to learn something from me because I have more experience in that. And so back when it was a thing, we booked a room at Percussion Studios, and we just set up 2 kits and we played for about 5-6 hours. And he was like taking videos and like taking voice notes, and we were just chatting that maybe you could check out these albums, check out these drummers, you know, think about this. And then I quickly ran out of ideas of what to talk about. We both learned that day. I was learning from him, obviously, as well. And we just had a really nice time hanging out. Then I drove him to his masterclass at BIM that day. And then we said goodbye. 2 weeks later, he flew back for the World's Greatest Drummer concert.
Yeah.
And he absolutely smashed it, absolutely nailed it, as he would. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And ever since then, like, shortly after that, he would call me, you know, once a week just to see how I'm doing, how's the family, you know, what are you up to, who you're playing with. And yeah, it was just really surreal. And
that's so cool.
giving me some really amazing like life advice, and just it kind of got my head screwed on at that age in a way, and just made it a bit even more serious about things.
Tell me, did you hear any of your influence in the World's Greatest Drummer concert? Because I think it's Pete Cater's band, if I remember rightly,
that's
on
right.
that one. Yeah, could you hear any of the...
I'm going to say not specifically. It wasn't so much like, I wouldn't say, try this lick or try this kind of thing. I could hear the feel. Like,
just an overall approach kind of thing.
Yeah, that like I could hear the driving feel, and he memorized the tunes as well. He wasn't reading.
Wow, really?
Notes, yeah. And he has his own process for that. But I said to him, you know, Buddy never read on stage. You know, we knew all the tunes, and I think he kind of took that on board. And he wasn't reading charts, and he absolutely smashed it. And funny enough, I went to see him because he guested at that Royal College of Music again, only in May, so a couple of months ago. And I went to see him then, and gave me the biggest hug, and we hung out afterwards, and you know, helped him pack down and things. And yeah, so I took a couple of videos for him, which he posted on his Instagram.
Cool.
And yeah, so he's kind of like an old elderly brother.
Don't say elderly, you won't appreciate that. An elder
it's fine.
Brother.
It's fine. Elderly, yeah.
Elderly.
He'll take that.
Oh yeah, he's gonna love that.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, look, let's go back. Where did it all begin for you? Because I mean, you know, 25 years old, and you've reached a level that, well, I think if I had another 75 years, I couldn't get anywhere near personally, but I haven't, by the way. but so where did it kind of all begin for you?
So, I mean, I think I've always forever been interested in music. My whole family are musicians, I should mention. So my mum and dad, they both play. So my mum is a violin teacher for a living, and she plays in orchestras. And my dad is a singer and piano player. But I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, and they all, at one time or another, have made a living out of music. So my oldest brother is Simon, who's also a drummer, which I think was a kind of big part of it. So there was a drum kit in the house when I was like nappies, falling about. And it was just always there, and I just loved kind of looking at it.
So you've never had the issue of begging mum and dad for a drum kit. It's always been there, that's
yeah,
massive, isn't it?
I did, because he's a bit older than me, so he went to uni when I was still a kid.
Okay.
And so the kit was gone. And then that's when I was like, I need some drums. I've also got a sister who sings and a brother who's also a jazz saxophone player. And he's like really nailing it. He's got albums of his own and smashing it. So Simon, my oldest brother, is a drummer. He was in a band called Templeton Peck, and I would used to go out with my dad to watch his kind of punk rock gigs. And I absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. But when I got to the age of, I think it was 6 or 7, I started having lessons on drums seriously, like once a week with a fantastic local teacher in Northampton called Terry Mitchell, who's retired now, but I couldn't have asked for a better teacher. He was absolutely phenomenal. So he actually taught Simon 10 years prior to me at the school he went to, and then I went to him privately. He said, "I'm not taking on any more students," and he said, "This is a Barford, this is younger Barford." He was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine then, bring him in." And had lessons once a week from then, and I've not looked back. I don't even really remember a time where I didn't play the drums. I learned violin first. That was my first.
So you got a lot of the theory early on as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, so like my reading and theory was okay from a young age. I carried it on for a bit, but I kind of got sick of it, and I just wanted to play drums. I was learning both at the same time. So then, my lessons with Terry were great. It was all like pad stuff, a lot of technique, and then got onto the drums, and it would be like, sight read this, we're going to work on this groove today, we're going to work on this kind of genre of music, and each week would be a different genre of music, and make me sight read like different types of funk, rock, and groove, and jazz, all sorts.
Do you remember any standout books that really kind of grabbed you from that period?
I really enjoyed the Dave Hassel books.
Dave's been a guest on the show, and we've talked at length, about his books. Yeah,
they were great. I had both. I think it was just book 1 and 2, and it was all the different types of genres and pieces in there with the play along track.
Yeah, fast country.
Oh my goodness! Wow, flashbacks.
2 bars.
Yeah, 2 bars count. Yeah, exactly. 1, 2. Yeah. I loved it. It was fantastic, and so that was really great. Trying to think what other book. I mean, I went through tons. I mean, just below my desk, I've got them all here. In fact, I can see Dave's right there.
I can probably see one here as well somewhere or other.
Yeah.
Oh, I can look here.
Which one have you got?
That's one of them.
I've got book 2.
Oh, there we go. I've got the Ringbinder version as well. I don't know where this one's come from.
Yeah.
But there we are. Well, there you go, Dave, in case you're watching.
Yeah. So that was really cool, and then I did all my grades with Terry as well. So I got my grade 8 at the age of 13.
Wow, okay.
And then that was when I was his last pupil. That's when he retired. He kept me on. I was his last pupil to finish my grade 8, and then that's when he retired. And ever since then, I've been having one-off lessons with a few people. Ralph Salmon's being one of them.
Ralph, it's no secret, Ralph is my favourite drummer of all time. He really,
really?
Is. Yeah.
He's incredible.
He is a monster, isn't he? And a lovely fella too.
Lovely guy, absolutely lovely guy. So I went to his bunker. I bet he won't remember. He might remember. I don't know.
Oh, he will. I think he would.
I went to his studio and got me to sight read a big band piece, and he recorded it, and we went back in and listened to it, and like actually zoomed in on the wave files to see where I was placing each beat of the bar. It was really incredible. Yeah. And then that's when I was obsessed with recording. I went home. I was already recording on Cubase at that point. I still am. And that's when I started recording myself every day, just to listen back and see myself. So, and then when I was 19, I went to New York and had some lessons in New York for 10 days. With like some of my heroes.
Go on, name some names. Let's have some of these names.
So there was Kendrick Scott, John Riley.
Oh, right.
Nate Smith, and last one was Adam Aruda, who no one really knows, I don't think, but he's on the scene out there in the jazz scene. Is really killing. I saw him play with Joel Fram, and he absolutely blew my mind. So I asked him for a lesson. It was great. But so some of those lessons, some were good, some were not so good.
Yeah.
But the best was Nate Smith.
Really?
Yeah. Because he was such a awesome, lovely, humble guy. Like he greeted me at the door with a bottle of water and was like, "Hey, I'm making some food. Do you want some? Let's hang out." Like, "Oh, okay." And walk into the room, and he kind of sat me down at the drums. He's like, "Okay, play me a groove." Played him a groove. Like, "Play me some time." I played him some time. He's like, "Okay, let's not talk about drums then." He said, let's talk about what you want to do with your life, basically. I was like, "Wow, it's pretty deep." But he said, let's talk about different career paths.
Was this him saying, "Yeah, you're good for me. You don't need a drum lesson"? Was that what he was saying essentially? You can say it. It's fine.
Yeah, kind of in a way. Yeah, I think so. He kind of wanted to help on a more bigger scale than just a drum lesson. I think he actually kind of really wanted to give me some advice on what I could do, because I was 19. I wasn't living in London yet, and it was my dream to move to London to be a professional musician in London. So I grew up in Northampton. I did all the rock and pop blues scene in Northampton, and I was getting pretty not bored of it, but it was a lot of the same thing all the time, and I wanted to get more and challenge myself. So Nate said about when he moved to New York and what he had to do to get in the right places, make the right connections and things. And he told me to go down to London as much as possible, just get your face seen, get noticed, play at some jams if you want to, but just get your face seen, make some friends. So I went down to London at least once a week, sometimes 3 times a week, just to go and watch gigs, and I would go to Ronnie Scott's and play in the jam session there. At this point, my brother lived in London, so I used to crash at his house.
Yeah.
And was just doing that as much as possible. And then to the point where people thought I lived in London, which I didn't yet.
Mission accomplished at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's when I made the move, because then I got calls saying, "Can you come to the gig in like an hour's time? We're playing at so and so." I'm like, "Sorry, mate, I'm a 2-hour drive away." They're like, "What?" So yeah, that's when I said, "Okay, now's the time." And I went down, and thankfully the phone has been ringing. So
well, again, your CV, you look at it, and you've done so much for such a young guy, and you have some amazing gigs. I mean, obviously, there's the Nigel Price Organ Trio, which is fabulous. And are you busy with those at the moment? Are they like all over the place?
We're all over the place. We're playing tomorrow, actually. We're in Buxton for International Jazz Festival tomorrow.
Ah, okay, cool.
And that's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, bands that I do.
Really?
Yeah, it's so special to me. It really is, because I grew up listening to Nigel Price.
Yeah, well.
So as like a lot of UK jazz fans do, and because he's one of the most kind of well-known jazz guitarists we have in this country. He's absolutely amazing, and so I was a big fan. I knew all his kind of records, and then I was also a huge fan of his Hammond organ player. Called Ross Stanley, and I was such a huge fan. Like I still am, but I used to, when I said about going to London all the time, it would be mainly to go and to watch Ross play.
Okay.
So I would go and watch the gigs that Ross was doing, and one gig that stood out for me was when he played with Seamus Blake. It was like a trio, sax, drums, and organ, and that was a really special gig. I still think that's one of the most special gigs I've ever seen, and I always tell Ross about that all the time. But So I had a gig at the Pizza Express Jazz Club with a singer called Tom Seals, and he said, "Oh, I've booked a Hammond organ player on today." So, "Oh, right, who's that?" So, "Do you know Ross Stanley?" I nearly died, absolutely nearly died. And he walks in, "Hey, how's it going, Ross?" I'm like, "Hi." And we played. We had a lot of fun. It was great. And he asked my number, and then he recommended me to Nigel. So then Ross called me and said, "Are you available to do a gig with Nigel Price in 2 days' time?" I'm like, "Yes, no, I'll do anything to do that gig."
You knew the repertoire already, so
kind of, not all of it, because there was some newer stuff as well. But I kind of had a general feel of what the vibe was going to be like, and and also Nigel didn't send me, because he's got a Dropbox folder of all the charts,
sure.
And I asked for the charts, and he didn't get them to me until the morning of the gig, and he sent me 40 plus songs.
Could be any of those.
Could be any of those, yeah. So he said I was just going to choose and pick. I was like, fine, and I really kind of listened to everything I possibly could, and learned everything I possibly could on and off page. And we turned up to the gig. I'm like pretty nervous, but I feel comfortable because Ross felt like I was good enough to be there in the first place. So I felt, okay, maybe I do kind of deserve to be here. And I felt very comfortable instantly because those guys are really lovely people and I got on with it really well. And, even the novelty of playing in that band still hasn't worn off. Every gig I'm still kind of pinching myself. And that gig was really it was hilarious because there was 2 power cuts. It was in Southampton. We played the first tune and they were like, "This is great. This feels amazing." I was like, "Yeah, brilliant. Next tune. Let's go." And then power cut. I'm like, oh no. And it went off about half an hour and people left. And we're like, okay, what do we do? Should we pack up, go home? And then all of a sudden it came back on. I'm like, quick. And then we played like half another tune and it went again. And then that's when we called it a night. But ever since then, just that tune and a half, Nigel trusted me enough to be his first full drummer ever since.
Wow, that's quite a compliment, isn't it?
Yeah. And I told him like quite openly, I've learned your pad. He was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I've done my best to learn your pad off by heart. All the tunes." He was like, "Okay, great." So now he just calls them, and it's great.
Yeah.
I just know it, and it's a lot of fun. So we did have a 60-date tour, like 60.
Yeah.
Date tour for 2020. I mean, 2020 happened.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So,
lovely COVID.
Exactly. So that went literally overnight. But we did manage to keep a few. We actually did a tour in 2020. We did about 13, 14 gigs around the country. And then year after that, so last year, we did the rest of them.
Brilliant.
So that was about another 45 gigs. And it was brilliant. So now the band sounds better than ever after a tour like that. And every time, no matter how long we spend apart, when we come together, first note was like, sound check's done, people happy,
on the money.
Yeah, exactly.
And then another incredible band, and a band that I think, I know Greg Bissonet's done stuff with, is the Louis Dowdeswell band. And for those that don't know, Louis is, he's a ridiculously talented trumpet player. I would say one of, if not the best in the UK. I don't know. I don't think I'm too far from the mark there, am I?
Not at all. I don't think. No, absolutely not.
And a ridiculously talented band. I'm sure I saw Greg Bissonette doing a virtual tune with them at some point or other.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, he did. Because Louis, his partner in crime, Callum, he writes and arranges for the band.
Oh yeah.
And so he did a version of Into the Unknown.
Yeah.
From Frozen 2, and Greg Bissonette did the recording all the way from the States remotely, and it sounds amazing as he would, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's had quite a lot of amazing drummers play with him over the years, and I feel very kind of privileged to be asked to do it.
Again, how did that come about, Joel?
So that was social media. This one.
Cool.
So that was, I think Louis had been checking me out online, and he sent me a message saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a drummer, like kind of a full-time sort of situation for the rest of this year and onwards, basically." He said, I think he said he was trying out a few people, and he said, "I've got a recording like for you to do. Would you mind, if you're up for it, if you want to do it? Don't worry if not, but if you want to do it, I've got a recording. Would you mind recording it and sending it back to me just to see how you sound over it?" So it's kind of like an informal audition.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, sure, yeah, I'm up for that. And it was a demo of what's going to be his next album, and he was very pleased, which I was very pleased with as well. And he asked me to do it, basically.
So can I ask, Joel, before you get any further, did you get a track minus drums with click and dots or something like that? Or
exactly. Yeah. So I got sent the dots from what we've arranged it, Calamau. And yeah, it was all demos basically. Like like click had the drums. Sorry, the track without drums.
Yeah.
I think he sent some like MIDI drums just to get an idea of what it is, but obviously I'm not gonna listen to that too much. So I just did he just said, "Do your thing over it. I just want to hear your individual stamp on it." I thought, okay, so I kind of came up with my own parts. It was like pretty intense music. It was lots of different movements, lots of different time signatures. It was a classical piece arranged for big band.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
Lots of different sections, and it's quite modern. And I really loved doing it. I actually carried on recording after I sent it to him because I just wanted to see what else I could do with it.
Yeah, sure.
But then he asked me to do Birmingham Symphony Hall for April, but I couldn't make it because that was the day of my UK drum show performance.
Right. Okay.
No, sorry, the rehearsal was. I could make the date, but I couldn't make the rehearsal. Sorry. Yeah. So I said to him, "I can't make it the rehearsal, but I can do the gigs." He said, "Sorry, I should have the same drummer to do both." I was like, "Yeah, fair enough." So he called Ian Thomas, which is hilarious. Because Ian's like one of my favourite drummers of all time.
Well, yes, I think I know what the gig was. Was it something to do with the brass band gala concert for the British Open?
That's right.
Yeah,
it was the European Brass Band Championships.
That's right. It was with the Corey band, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Because my friend Steve is the drummer with the Corey band.
So, great, amazing.
Because I know he put the pictures up, and Yanto was obviously on kit. So that I was wondering how that came about. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, "I'll call Yanto." And I laughed down the phone. I was like, "That's ridiculous. You should ask Yanto first. What are you doing?" But then Yanto had to go and do NDR big band the next day in Germany.
Yeah.
So and they had a late set to go on after the concert, like a party set into the early hours of the morning, of like really intense Maynard Ferguson style big band. And so Louis called me again. "Actually, can you do just the late set?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I'll do that." So I turned up, not knowing anything of what we were playing, like zero idea, no sheets, no recording, no nothing, until I saw the pad being placed on my stand. And there was no sound check because they were coming from the gala concert straight into the foyer.
Right.
And they're all like running with a beer in hand and ready to play for another 2 hours. And so I was literally sight reading the whole entire concert for that. And then that's when kind of Louis said, "You're in," basically, because he said that's a very hard thing for anybody to do.
So it's not been that long really with Louis' band, has it? Yeah.
No, not at all.
And I know you had a triumphant gig at the Wigan Jazz Festival. Yeah. Unfortunately, I was out myself that night. I was out. I didn't get in till it would probably have started by the time I got home.
Oh, right.
But I had a lot of friends who were there and they were sharing clips, and it was a hot night, that wasn't it? You must have been roasting.
Well, I told you I nearly died. Like it was just so hot. everyone was like dripping in sweat.
Yeah.
But I think it made more of a vibe for the gig. It made it quite intense.
Yeah.
It was great. It was very nice to, like I said, to be asked to do it. Because the band is basically the best that British big band has to offer.
Yeah.
I would say like even European British big band has to offer, because some of the players in that band is just absolutely phenomenal. There's like Tom Walsh, there's Ryan Quigley, there's Graham Blevins, there's in the rhythm section, you know, like Chris Eldred, Thomas Inglis, there's James Turner had percussion as well, so it was like nice to have a drum and percussion kind of
different colour. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so it's like absolutely outrageous band, and again, I was sight reading for a lot of that as well. But yeah, I had a blast. It was absolutely amazing.
I mean, it must be a joy to be in that band. I mean, the band, that band, the music must play itself with musicians like that. It's, you know,
exactly. Yeah. It's the charts do play themselves in a way, and we just have a lot of fun with it. And it's nice to see, because Louis Louis stands at the front, plays like the main melody line on trumpet.
Yeah.
Does his high squeaky stuff and all that. And
squeaky stuff. He'd be thrilled to hear that.
And then turns round and conducts.
Yeah.
And you can just see a massive beam on his face, and he's like jumping up and down, almost laughing. We're having such a great time. And it's an absolute joy. So I feel, and they've got, for those who don't know, go check him out on YouTube, because he's got loads of amazing kind of compilations of everyone recording either remotely or together in the studio.
Yeah.
Loads of like Disney and Pixar arrangements for big band.
And it's always a joyful experience to hear it and to see it, isn't it? Let's be honest. And you know, if you're having a bad day, listen to that, and it's instant like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. And I was a fan of those videos. I knew obviously who Louis was, and I knew the big bands, and I knew a couple of guys who played in the band. And I always thought that'd be really cool to do that one day. And I think he currently holds the record for the most views of any big band on YouTube.
Wow, that's some achievement.
Yeah, it's like millions and millions and millions of views and views.
Wow.
So there's a lot of fans who come from all over to watch these big bands. So yeah,
it's all happening, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's literally only since the past, I don't know, few years, it's all kind of ramped up.
Well, I think you've got just a ridiculous career ahead of you. I mean, 25 years old is just insane. No. And you've obviously worked hard, and you deserve every bit of it. You know, let's finish off with your amazing performance at the UK Drum Show this year. How was that? Obviously, it's one thing performing at a high level with other musicians. Being stuck on a stage is my idea of absolute hell. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it was. It was,
especially with my ability. It doesn't register on the same scale as yours.
Oh, no, not at all. It was fantastic. I mean, it was my first ever appearance at a drum show. I performed on the Mike Dolbear Stage.
Yes, of course.
And so it was really nice to get the recommendation and recognition off of Mike to do it. So that was really nice. It was terrifying. I think everyone else backstage could see how kind of stressed I was. I think I haven't been that stressed about a gig in a long time. And just the fact that I'm new to the whole talking, approaching kind of a whole room full of drummers thing. I'm okay, kind of. I've done gigs where it's been under my name before, and I've been okay on the mic. But that was kind of quite scary, because a room full of drummers,
sure,
they're all just staring at you and waiting to hear what you're going to play next, and you always got to pull off your best. But it went great. It went, I don't know, couldn't have gone better.
Has it given you a hunger to do more of that kind of thing, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to go down the whole masterclass kind of clinic route. Like I said, that was my first one. I've had a couple of inquiries to do more. This year there was going to be something at one of the universities in London, but then that fell through, unfortunately. But maybe next year, and a few others. But I definitely, I think I see it in my future.
Good.
Not as like a clinician, not as like as regular, maybe like Benny or something, who's like
Yeah,
very good at that.
Yeah,
that education thing. But I would love to do it when I have spare time to do it. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, as you say, you know, it's all ahead of you. It really is. You must be so excited about what the future holds.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I kind of got you now, because in 10 years' time it'll be like, no chance.
Not at all. You had Steve Gadd. Oh my God.
Yeah, incredible. Well, I suppose. Yeah, you know, he's all right.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate
honestly,
it.
It's been. I mean, I've heard things I wasn't expecting about you giving Benny Greb a lesson. I wasn't expecting to hear that today, which is really cool, you know, and an amazing insight, because people, you know, a lot of the time they don't understand how endorsements work, how they come about. And, you know, I'm sure you will have given inspiration to lots of drummers, especially young drummers watching this, who, you know, they now know the dedication required to get to where you're at, where they want to be. You know, it doesn't happen on its own. It's, you know, you can't download it. You need to put the hours in, don't you? It's as simple as that.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And that's the thing, like endorsements, it's not the be or end all of the world, obviously. And I think the best way for it to happen is through recommendations.
Yeah.
You can apply on websites and all this, and you know, people do get through that way, but I think you get a recommendation from someone of like a high profile. I think that's the way.
Holds a lot more weight, doesn't it? Let's be honest. And you know.
I think it does. But yeah.
Well, look, Joel, all the very, very best for the future. I don't think you need my good wishes. I think it's just going to happen all on its own now, and it's the only way is up. So, well, look, I'll look forward to hopefully catching up in person and seeing you. I'm sure there'll be plenty of things you're playing at, so hopefully I get to come along and say hello. So, thank you for giving up your time so generously. I know you're busy, so and have a great gig tomorrow in Buxton.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate. It's really
Cheers, Joel. Thank you, mate.
I'll see you later. Thank you. Bye.